Hi. My question is about forking. I created several surgeries that I needed to have over the last few years, and the final one to top it off was I created a brain tumor, which wasn't malignant. It was very simple, according to my neurologist. If I was going
As simple as brain surgery can be.
Yeah,
yes.
it was. I mean, it could have been really bad, but it wasn't. I was healing.
Now see, that was a very good fork.
Yeah. I was healing. And I think I was also creating all this illness because I was very unhappy in my marriage.
Well, now you're forking the other way.
Well, my husband wasn't very happy
Now you're
being
still
a
forking the
nurse,
other way.
and so that's how I got him to decide to get rid of me.
Well, now we're not sure which way that fork went.
No, it was a good thing. Anyway, as I was healing, which was a much longer process than he thought it should be.
Now we're going.
I know.
Easy to feel, isn't it? Not fair for us to pick on you, but it's so easy.
I got to where I could drive again. And I was
now where does that go? Where does that statement go? I got to where I could drive again.
Well, I love to drive.
Well,
it's something I couldn't do for a while.
In other words, every statement takes you this way or this way, doesn't it? Every single one. You can tell which way you're leaning. And so it's sort of like out there is the manifestation that you're reaching for, but it's like a big long stick with two ends on it. And on that end of the stick is what you really want, and on that end of the stick is what you really don't want. And so are you gradually moving that way, or are you gradually moving that way?
Well, that's kind of what my question is.
But you see, we have already given you the answer. So now we want you to practice the solution that we've already given you. Because every statement, every thought is moving you somewhere.
Then how do I tell you my story?
Magellan never asks, where have you been?
I know.
We don't care where you've been.
But that's my question.
We don't really like your question then.
I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten there yet.
Wouldn't you rather ask how to get to where you want to go than how you got to where you didn't want to go?
Well, I think I've been forking. It's just an unusual way.
Well, we're teaching you how to fork properly.
Maybe everybody will learn how not to fork if I tell you this.
They will indeed, but in the meanwhile, you've gone off in the desert again. Why go there again? Why not start right where you are and start moving in the direction that you want? We'll hear your story, but we will be animated as we indicate the direction of where you're going.
The bottom line is...
Wait, now think this through.
I kept making myself feel better during this whole process because I would lay there and think, I am so good at creating really weird things. And I'd get into this humorous place while I was vomiting and being dizzy and falling, and I felt it very...
She's going to tell us her story, isn't she?
Yes, I am.
I've learned this story. I'm going to tell this story to anyone who will listen.
Well, my question is, if you use humor and actually...
Well, humor is good because humor is an effort at turning the direction.
Where does it get you to on the vibrational scale? If you're in this place
well,
and
it
depends
on whether you follow the trail of humor. In other words, what we see with many people, like yourself, who have become entertainers, is as you begin telling these negative stories, you can gather much more attention. In other words, people will gather to listen to your negative stories. And they feel a little bit of safety in it because it's negative and then you're funny, and then it's negative and then you're funny, and then it's negative and then you're funny, and then it's negative and then you're funny. That's the power of comedians. Most comedians find something that just irritates the life out of you and highlight it, and then they make it funny. And there's benefit in that because there is relief in the laughter. Anytime you laugh, or in fact, anytime you cry, there is a release of resistance. But it's child's play in relationship to what you now know. In other words, you're far too smart to tell a negative story just so that you can get to the humorous punchline.
But isn't that like dealing with real life day to day?
Well, there's a lot of real life that's wonderful, and there's a lot of real life that sucks, and it's all your choice. Focus wherever you want and take your path wherever you want it to be. We're not denying that it's valid or that it's real or that it's easier or that it's even logical. We're not for a moment suggesting that you should do something different than you're doing. We understand it, really we do. But in light of what we're talking about, this is really leading edge creation. We're fine-tuning. We're teaching you how to be the creator of your own reality. We're teaching you how to take the path that will thrill you around every turn, around every corner, you see. We would not settle for less than spectacular lives. Knowing what you know, living in this time, we wouldn't put up with any of it. And if you've been living some of it, it's because you've been willing to put up with it. And you're arguing for putting up with it, even as we're talking about it here.
It's just I haven't heard a lot said about using humor to shift.
Esther is always looking for some way to have fun, some way to have humor, and she goes to great extents. They have rubber noses that they wear when certain people pass them by. Well, the back of the bus says life is supposed to be fun, and so they thought that people might be expecting fun when they pass, and so they have them handy. And of course, anytime someone really wants to know if they're having fun, Esther says, yes, we are having fun. Doesn't happen very often. There's not that many people really looking for fun on the highway, but recently 3 or 4 busloads full of 5- and 6-year-olds passed them, and the noses were a big hit for the children that were in the back of those school buses. The driver didn't know what happened when 50 or 60 children all raced to the back of the bus and put their little faces against the window. Jerry and Esther were on the ship last week, and Esther was trying to think of fun things to play with grandchildren. 4 years old and 7 years old. And they love the word games. They love the picture book games where you look in the picture and you try to find what's different in the picture. And so Esther dressed for dinner that night with things different. She wore 2 different earrings and 2 different shoes, and she rolled one sleeve way up and left one sleeve well down and tucked one collar under and one collar out. And she resisted Jerry's idea of wearing one eyelash on and one eyelash off. But she went to great extent. She wore her watch backwards and turned her rings under. In other words, just wanting the children to look her over and find things that were unusual or not matching or out of the ordinary. And when they got to dinner, the children did not even notice that she was limping in. She had one high heel on and one sneaker. And so Esther sort of limped into dinner, and no one said anything. And then Esther sat there and pulled her hair back to try to make her odd matching earrings apparent, and no one said anything. And so then Esther said, does anyone notice anything unusual about me? And they noticed that her eyelashes looked strange. What we're getting at is the majority of the fun was had by Esther. As she was preparing. And then the maitre d', this very elegant man, came round the corner just as Esther was putting the sneaker in her purse and taking the other shoe out. That was fun. He looked at her and she did not explain. She just smiled at him as if every woman keeps an extra shoe in her purse just in case she needs it. And so what we're getting at is you find your humor. In other words, there are many who would think that's not funny, that's just silly. The children sort of fell in that category because they had been being coached by their parents to be proper and ready for this restaurant. They had been encouraged to choose their very best clothes and look their very best. And so they were sort of in the we're looking our very best mode, not in we have dressed like crazy people in order to make each other laugh. So there are a lot of people that are not where you are in terms of humor.
Oh, I know that.
And so what often happens when you're determined to be funny and you cue yourself up for it and they're not there, then that attempt at humor can take a sort of ugly turn. So what we're getting at is there's no right or wrong in any of this. You just need to decide that you want to feel good and then make your best stab at feeling good. And as you do that moment after moment after moment, when the universe gets in on your humor, and when the universe realizes that you are looking for fun, and you get the fairies of the universe in on arranging the circumstances and events. In other words, there's a wave for many years of situation comedies on television where what makes it funny is the situation in which it unfolds. The universe has impeccable timing to offer circumstances to surprise and delight you, you see. There is nothing more elegant or exhilarating or beneficial than humor. We want you to use humor in a productive, powerful way. Did we give you enough? You said you hadn't heard enough about it.
Yes, I got it.
We can go on.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.